Okay. No, seriously. It's so important to have open communication and honesty in a relationship, especially, why are you laughing at me?
Because we looked at each other at different times.
But it is very true. And being in a divine partnership where you're both so vulnerable and open, and I mean, poor Stephen, I always need to express myself and talk things out. It's like once you discover your truth and you start honoring your truth and you become an empowered being, it's like I'm not holding anything back. So anything that comes up for me, anything that's percolating in my mind that feels uneasy, I'm gonna bring it up and get clarity in our relationship and see if I'm absorbing some of his projections or if this is a fear that I need to process of my own shit. So it's so important to do that. Otherwise, you're bottling up all these emotions, and then resentment and anger and all sorts of other emotions can flood and really jeopardize a healthy relationship, a good relationship.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you don't honestly communicate everything, the resentment or whatever negative emotion builds, and it builds and builds and builds beneath the surface because you never said it, and then there's a trigger point where it becomes this massive blow up, and you're like, oh, and you did this, and this, and this, and this, and the other person's like, where did that come from? But it's just because the person didn't honestly communicate what they were feeling every time it came up. So that's something that we've been learning how to do on a really deep level, like to the point where it freaks your ego out every time. Doing that instead of letting things build up beneath the surface and then hit like a tipping point of like an explosion of whatever right. Negative emotion was being hidden.
And I think it's so important because we both are on this path of higher self-embodiment, and we're learning it more with each other than ever. You know, all the stuff that is out of alignment is really coming to the surface for both of us. And that's what these divine partnerships do, is they hit all those spots that need healing, all those dark, shadowy areas that need the light shined on. They come to the surface, and when you're in this partnership, you hold space for the other person to feel supported and safe to express themselves and transmute it, so you guys can do it together and you can move higher together.
Yep.
And something I've been going through and experiencing is loving Stephen so much where, you know, I want him to be on the path for the highest good for himself. And I want to make sure that we're both choosing the higher path for each other. And of course, I want to be a part of that higher path, but it's so important not to hold your partners back from really amazing things, that you guys can build such a solid foundation that you're going to grow together and evolve together. And that isn't even a fear anymore. So we both have been in different types of relationships where, you know, that kind of stuff played roles in that. So we're being...
And most of the time it's unconscious, too.
Yeah. So...
It's going on beneath the surface. And the realization that we just had, and what was big for me, is realizing the ripple effect and how this is the micro scale of how humans interrelate on the macro scale. So being completely vulnerable and honest with each other and really putting our egos aside and saying, I want the best for you, no matter what that looks like. Like, I'll probably be humbled. My ego might feel inferior based on whatever comes up, but I want the best for you, and I want you to be the best version of yourself. And when you truly, truly get to that point with a partner, then you're really helping each other elevate and grow and blossom on a great, great level. And when you don't do that, when you're sabotaging people, which can be consciously or unconsciously, like maybe I'm not comfortable with myself, so I gotta dull her shine, and I might do it in like these unconscious ways, then you become like crabs in a bucket, keeping each other down like this, and you're against each other, keeping each other down. Or you can choose to say, I want what's in it for your best interest, because that will help you grow and blossom. And my ego might not like it, but in the overall good of our higher selves, that means we all blossom. Because when you're your best self, that's going to help me be my best self. But I got to grow out of my ego, which is hard to do in order to do that. So most people don't get to that point because they want to protect their ego.
Right. And you think of all different kinds of reasons why you should run and why this isn't working out, or it's amazing what gets triggered in these partnerships. And
can I make one more point on that?
Yeah.
Related to the helping each other, creating those win-wins for each other, and truly having their best interest in mind. If you widen that scope outward, if you do it in your closest relationships, what happens when all of your family relationships and friendships are like that? When you're completely raw, honest, truly in it for everyone's best good. How does your family dynamics look? How do your friendships look when you're all just like helping each other elevate and grow? How do your organizations, your work environments look like?
Right.
Then how do your countries, if there even are countries at that point, like organized groups of people, all helping each other grow, not holding each other back. So you see people internally, inside themselves, battling with themselves. They're battling with their own thoughts and emotions. And then in relationships, they're battling with each other, trying to dim their shine. And then in their family dynamics and friendship dynamics, they're doing the same thing. And then you see it in organizations, you see it in countries and all that. And that's why we see the macro manifestation of that with wars and all that stuff. So it's just fascinating how this ripples into all that. I love just connecting that thread that way.
And from our experiences, what we're noticing is it's important how we're sensing energy in our household and how everybody is contributing to that energy, every time I know that I get off or Stephen gets off, we feel responsible for our energy fields. We know that we need to get into a clear space so we can see what's really going on and honor our emotions. And then that's when we communicate with each other to see, is this a projection? Was I absorbing your shit? Or is this something that I'm really processing? And can you help me get clarity? Can we get clarity on this together in our relationship so we can move now past this into a new place? And since we've been doing that, we are transforming at a rapid rate, and so are my children, because we live with my 2 kids. So we have stopped trying to get them on board with us and just hold a container of light by us staying clear that they are making different choices and they are attracting new sets of friends. I mean, my son's friends are now interested in crystals and energy healing, and they're sitting there coloring, writing stickers of being true to yourself, and and we're not even putting this on them. This is them just feeling in a safe container when they're at our house, feeling that light and that love and support and clarity that they can express themselves and empower themselves in a whole unique way. So it's really awesome that this is actually generating from our relationship and from our love, because we're really honoring each other on a whole new level. And when you're with somebody and you have that kind of love and that kind of vibration, it is so powerful that it transforms people around you into the best versions of themselves just by you radiating that love and light and clarity. So this has been really beautiful experience for us to actually be so raw and vulnerable with each other. And I'm learning more of who I am and more about energy than I've ever felt before by living with somebody who's just as sensitive as me, because this has taught us how to really cultivate gifts and tools to shift the energy and to communicate. So
and with that communication, you hinted at this before, but it's so important, and you're so good at doing this, and I've been setting the intention to do this as well as I can, and that is holding space, being centered and non-reactive. So providing that safe container for your partner or whoever it is to be fully vulnerable, fully open and honest, because they'll know no matter what I say right now, they're not going to hold it against me. They're not going to react or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm safe to say even like whatever the darkest things you have or the harshest judgments you have.
You can't be embarrassed about it, because that's what this partnership is like we're evolving our souls. We're doing deep soul work that you can't do by yourself. Like when somebody...
I wouldn't say can't.
Well, you can do by yourself, but I'm saying I've been alone on my journey, and I've been in other relationships, and the kind of support that we give each other and the kind of awareness that we bring to
each other. It's a fast track, I would say. It's an effective, it's such an effective path. That's how I would describe it.
Right.
Yeah. And even more important than being vulnerable and
See, watch
and
my energy shifts, because I'm like calculating. I'm like, is it though just a fast track? Because like I really feel...
I don't like the word can't though.
Okay,
Anything's possible.
Okay, I don't like the word can't either. Bad choice of words.
You could get to that place yourself, but like it's really tough, and you've got to be like really honest with yourself, and it's so easy to deceive yourself.
Right, but
it's so easy to just get lost in your own deceptions, and just about everyone does that.
Right.
So it's really effective to have someone to call you out when you're in your own loop of deceptions.
Or the fact that, you know, the stuff that's buried deep in my subconscious that I didn't even know that I needed to heal, he's got, you know, it's kind of like the lock and key. He's got the other part that is going to resonate and bring what's in my subconscious to the surface so I can look at it.
Yep.
And, you know, that wouldn't happen if I was just like sitting here. It wouldn't happen to the extent, and then I wouldn't get the support I needed from you. I mean, yeah. See, it's making me think. The gears are turning, because it is true. I mean, we do a lot of work independently, and we did a lot of work before we were even together to get to this point of self-love and self-worth and self-respect. But this is a deepening of that for sure. A deepening. And I think that the stuff that you've had to process and work with has been an invitation for me to love myself on a whole new level and empower myself on a whole new level, because there are things that I now speak up for myself. If I don't feel like my needs are being met, I will express that. And before, like, I never had the courage to do that. So that's a beautiful thing when you're with somebody who honors you and you're able to speak your truth. Things that shift like that. It's like as soon as we bring attention to it, it's an invitation for it to shift instantly.
Full awareness. Like the more total the awareness that's brought to something, the more effectively it shifts. So it helps you have the courage to bring full awareness to it, to really put whatever that is in full awareness. Like for me, like, oh, I was really judging your kids that one time, you know, for example. And just fully looking at that. Well, before, I wouldn't have admitted that to myself. I would have had the judgments and kind of just like swept it under the rug. But you allow me to feel safe enough to just be like, yeah, I judged the fuck out of them right there. And just really look at that and sit with that. And just really sit with that. And when you can do that, when you could really admit that to yourself and look at it fully, it transmutes.
Right.
But if you don't allow yourself to look at it fully, like just suppress it or maybe take a little peek at it, but I don't want to go there, then it's going to bubble up under the surface.
Yeah. And that seems like so yesterday, like even when you said that, I judged the, you know.
I was using it as a past example.
I know, but it's funny
it's like
because
a different person.
It's like a different person, because my heart just went like, oh, but we're all such kookamookas now. Like there's just so much love being generated and appreciation. For instance, my daughter sent me a message today, and she's like, Mom, I'm not the middleman, I got boundaries. So I mean, she's already learning boundaries at the age of 11. And so, it's just so important with, you know, whoever you're with in a relationship to be...
all relationships.
In all relationships. To be open and to be honest and not scared to express your needs and how you're feeling, because it's the only way to really go higher in your relationship.
Yeah. And on the other side of it, be centered, grounded, and balanced and non-reactive, so that you give people the opportunity to do that in your relationships. So because when you do that, then people feel safe enough to openly express with you. So that's the other side of it. There's the giving
But
and the
that's
taking.
not always easy, and
Of
we're
course not.
totally
It's so
aware of
easy
that.
to get reactive. Like, what? You said that? You were thinking that? Just jump on them.
You see Stephen outside breathing like a primal gorilla sometimes. Just kidding. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. We all have our ways to deal with things, and yeah. So
That was good. That was a good concept.
yeah.
It's super powerful. And like I said, this is the basis. Like, it sounds like, I don't even know. It sounds weird, but it's like, it's the basis for global change, too. Just like how you deal with yourself, how you deal with your closest relationships, and that translates as a ripple effect.
Honestly,
everywhere.
my body, if something's off between us, I'll be like laying in bed and my body will just like fill with this like warm feeling, anxious kind of feeling, to the point where it's like, I need to talk about this. And if I don't talk about this, my body is going to alarm me that something's off. So it's, for those of you that experience those kind of reactions in your physical body, listen to it and communicate with your partner, because it is such a relief to express your fears and what's going on before it just takes over your life and
becomes your default
right,
autopilot.
because how can you be present with other people in your life if you have other things that are unsettled and those thoughts keep circulating in your mind, and you take them with you to work, you take them when you're driving your kids somewhere, you take them to the grocery store, you know.
And so many people do that, and it's
you
like,
see so many people not alert.
And on a subtle level, that's poisoning every interaction. That's why you see work environments, they're so toxic. Even a lot of family environments, so toxic. Let alone once you get to the level of bigger organizations and nations and things like that, you see the toxicity spreading in those environments.
And you know, no relationship is perfect. Relationships constantly take communication.
Stuff always comes
Stuff
up.
is always coming up. And I gotta say, like, I used to think, oh, you know, the most divine relationship probably happens where you just fall in love and it's like boom, like right away. No.
And then what?
And
then what?
That was like the fairy tale program that would run in my mind. That when
that's a big program.
And then so it sets you up for disappointment because you have all these expectations that are never met. With Stephen, like true love is building it every single day. Like every day, I fall more in love with Stephen. Every day, you know, and this happens because there's deeper levels of trust. There's deeper levels of communication and intimacy, and we're able to really show each other who we really are. And it's a beautiful thing to love somebody for who they are and not expect them to change or point out things that, you know, they lack or anything. It's like, I love you for you, and I'm here to just watch you rise and grow into the most beautiful being.
Empower your blossoming,
right? And
not
then,
holding you back.
And then when you cultivate families from that kind of energy, I mean, that's freaking amazing.
Yep, that ripple effect.
And so, yeah, I think that's a good place to...
Yeah, and it creates synergy. Like, just one last point, it creates synergy. When you do this stuff, it's like what you create together becomes like mind-blowing in terms of like you couldn't have even imagined it on your own. What comes about when two people get together for each other's highest good. Like, I couldn't have even imagined like how I'm feeling, even like just the love. I couldn't have even imagined it by myself, you know? So that's also what happens when you come together for each other's genuine highest good. It has this synergistic effect where things just emerge that are just so mind-blowingly amazing and loving that you couldn't have even predicted before. And I just love that.
It's true. It's true. Like, I didn't know it was possible to feel so much bliss and expansion while you're processing some of the deepest,
Yeah,
shadowy
and
stuff.
who knows, it's on the other side of like, oh, I judged that person so hard, or I was really pissed off about what you said. Who knows, it's on the other side of talking about that
like,
stuff.
Honestly, you feel so light.
Yeah.
It's such a release, and this is the year for a lot of sacred partnerships to form, because you come together and you serve together and you generate more bliss and more love in this world by empowering one another and rippling that out. So.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful, and that's a good place to end.
Much love and many blessings.
Peace, everyone. Love you.